Boom, boom, pow, pow. I am Sammy G.
And I am Burke Bankston.
Hopefully everyone is having a spectacular day. Burke, are you excited for spring break next week?
I am very excited for spring break. It's a much-needed break.
Do you have any plans?
We are going to Philadelphia on Saturday to go tour Villanova and then coming back down to tour Chapel Hill.
Wow.
After that.
Chapel Hill. I'm wearing my UNC merch right now.
Hey, runners up, man. It's
Right.
all right.
Runners up. All right. Well, today we have a very, very, very special guest. Speaking of science, even though we weren't speaking about science, there's no science were either. Today we have brought you the man himself. He likes to study the human body. He likes baseball. Are you kidneying me? It's Mr. McCord.
So that was the pun?
That was
I played that up. Yeah,
That was good.
I really liked that.
Yes.
Kidneying me.
Kidneying me. I got to use that.
So-
That's great.
For those that can't pick up context clues, can you tell them a little about yourself?
Yeah. I'm Steve McCord. I teach anatomy and physiology here at Jefferson Forest. I got some great students. Been here. This is year 18, believe it or not.
You're 18.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've been here longer than you've been alive, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
longer than I've been alive.
Me
I
too.
was the athletic trainer for 13 years here.
Oh.
Oh, like
Little
Joey.
known
Yep.
fact. Yes, I was Joey Lyons.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah, that's how I got here. And I was there for 13 years. And then it was time. It was time to move on. And so anatomy opened up. I walked right in and haven't looked back. It's been amazing.
Now you're the only teacher teaching anatomy.
That's right.
Yep.
You got one choice. If you want to take anatomy, I'm it. So
You
I
got
don't know if that's a
Mr.
good thing or
McCord.
bad thing, but that's all you got.
So I have a couple questions for you.
I'd be happy to answer them.
Why? Well, I guess you said you were first in the athletic department, but like, why the athletic department and like why anatomy?
Yeah. So I grew up just north of Boston. So huge Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots when they were bad, which I know you guys
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah.
about. Like the
No,
Patriots
yeah.
were
We wouldn't know
terrible.
that. Like when he's like
No.
Patriots are bad.
Yeah.
Like,
I grew up, they were awful.
Wow,
Like, they were,
that's crazy.
Like terrible. But I was still a fan, and but I always wanted. So I love sports, and I had this fantasy about becoming a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of wanted to put the two together. And went to college, did pre-med, and figured out MD is probably not my route.
yeah.
Right.
So got into sports medicine, and then eventually got up here to Liberty.
Okay.
Worked there, and then Stanton River, and then over to JF.
So where'd you go to college?
I went to college at Pensacola Christian College
Okay.
in Florida, and did pre-med there, and then a little small grad school called the U.S. Sports Academy.
U.S. Sports Academy.
It sounds really official.
It does.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
does.
When you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
U.S. Sports Academy,
Like,
I'm
wow.
like, I feel like I
It's
should
pretty
know that.
prestigious. Yeah, I know.
I promise you it's not. JF is probably about like 8 times the size of that.
Oh.
school
Okay.
this time. It was decent. It was a
Yeah,
good school. I'm
right.
glad I did it. It was kind of the fast track to get a master's. But
Mhm.
Okay.
like I said, the name was like, oh man, the U.S. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no, it's
Okay.
it really
So like, what brought you towards like teaching?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. It was just kind of the other part of the job that I wasn't planning on.
Yeah.
I mean, the goal wasn't to be a teacher. I mean, I hate to say that because I've been doing it a long time, and teaching's amazing. It
Yeah.
was just more of something I stumbled into because of athletic training. So
Right.
athletic training, you got into a high school and you had to. I mean,
Yeah.
It was just part of you got to get your teacher license if you want to stay.
And athletic training's not really like straight. Like you're not teaching,
Right.
right?
Yeah, so we had an athletic training class, so I taught a few of those.
Okay.
And so I kind of went through the licensure process because I had to.
Okay.
And I love it. It's great, but I mean, to be truthful, it was not the original path.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You weren't like when I'm older, I want to be a teacher. You're
no. I mean, my aspiration was NFL or Major League Baseball. But the thing is, I mean, with those sound great, and they
Yeah.
are. It's
Yep.
It would be amazing to do it for like a short period of time.
Mhm.
But it comes with a life sacrifice.
Yeah, it
like
does.
The hours, the craziness. If you want to have a family, which I did, you know, there's trade-offs. And,
Right. Yeah.
you know, you can go work for Bill Belichick, which would have been, I think, cool. But at some point,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, this ain't working. So
Right.
Hey, they're bringing in that money though.
That is true.
they are. They are.
Millions
Get
and
those
millions.
rings.
It's
Again,
crazy.
this was all pre-rings. too,
Yeah,
so it wasn't-
yeah. You weren't even thinking of that at that time.
No, not at all.
All right, and then who would you say inspires you? Like, who of the people when you were becoming, I guess,
Mr. McCord.
McCord,
Yeah,
who like
okay.
inspired you?
Like in athletic training.
Anything.
At all?
Anything?
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, inspiration on a professional level. There was a guy who. Okay, so I worked for this one guy for a year at LU. This guy named
Okay.
Al. He was great. Still good friends. But there's another guy who came in and took his spot, named Jason, who I worked for 3 weeks, and then I got the job at Stamp River. So I kind of
Okay.
like jumped shipped a year or two, and I always looked at him and still do, just the way he handled his job, his professionalism, his care for the athletes,
Yep.
his faith. I was like, dude, yeah. When I grow up, like I want to be like that guy. And I say another one. You know, faith is a huge part of my life, and my pastor, John G. Tate.
Okay.
He's been probably in my life one of the biggest influences in my adult life for sure. You know, again, how he does family, and as a dad, of course, I have 2 kids. So you try to aspire to be you know, find those role models that are
Right.
The best, like in your life.
yeah. What
Yeah.
do you want to be like?
All right. So I wanted to touch a little. I know in class you've talked about like how when you grew up in Massachusetts, you grew up on the more, you said crime-ridden and.
Yeah, I know. I probably don't come across that way, but
No, you do not at all. I just
it's true though.
could you touch on that and how you kind of grew up with that and how that affected you, or if it affected you?
So I don't know if it like directly affected me on a day-to-day level, but it was kind of funny. So my parents, they bought this 2-family house. We rented for a while. I was like 6 years old, and then we moved to the city.
Okay.
And they're renovating it. So I have a sister who's 2 years older, and they have 2 older brothers. They were in college.
Wow.
And so when my parents are working on, you know, the house, they'd be like, all right, hey, you and your sister go to the park across the street, go play. Like it was like, okay, yeah. So 6 and 8,
All right.
just kind of like take off, go to the park, right?
Young.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility.
And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, you're not going back to the park. I'm like, oh, dude, why? Like, this basketball. It was actually like a street hockey rink.
Wow.
In the park. It was really cool. And it was like this quick turn through like 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. They're like, yeah, don't go. And you just knew, like, there was just some crime there.
Yeah.
There were places you didn't walk. We were known, at least in Massachusetts, as like the car theft capital.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So one time, you know, there was like a Dunkin' Donuts like across the street from the park, and there was like bullet holes in it.
Oh my God.
But I went to like a small Christian school. We were church people, and so we weren't out in the community other than like when I played like rec baseball.
And you said it was very like on the line too, right? It was like between 2.
Yeah. So like you go a quarter mile, you're in a fairly nice town, and then you cross this one like little tiny bridge, and you're in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
That's
and
crazy.
Yeah, like I mean, of course, as a kid, you don't know these things, but like the real estate value, I'm sure once you cross that bridge, like turn back. But you know, I don't have any issues with my upbringing, but it kind of made me more aware.
All right.
So yeah,
That's good to know. And then I just kind of had like a final question for you. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be final because I'm going to give Burke some time to ask you some questions.
Sure. Sweet.
But what is your, like, if you could give a message to the people listening, to the students listening, through your upbringing of Mr. McCord, what advice or what message do you have for them?
Yeah. You know, this is something I think that came more about in my adult life. I read a book by a pastor down in Georgia. It's called The Principle of the Path. And he had this saying in there that I grabbed onto. I'm like, man, that is so good. And the saying was this: it's direction, not intention, determines destination. And so kind of the meaning behind it is, it's not where we're intending to go that makes us get to where we want to be. It's where we're actually heading, And so, if I want to go to Richmond, but I go west, I have every intention to go into Richmond. But if I'm going west, I'm never getting there.
Yeah.
Right? And so when we look at our life, when we say, okay, for high school students, I want to be a doctor. I've had several of those in anatomy class. I want to be a surgeon. All right, awesome. So what are you doing now that's going to make you reach that destination?
Right.
If you're not studying, if you're not applying yourself, then eventually you're going to look back and, man, I never got there. Well, why didn't I get there? I had all this intentions of being this MD. Well, the direction you were kind of pointing your life is not going to get there. And so, the positive side is, you can look at, okay, this is where I want to go. Now what steps do I have to take to get there? And if we're intentional with our lives and our time, resources, energy, we can get there. So I always look at that. Direction, not intention, determines destination.
Yep.
So
that's strong, because I don't even know where I want to go in the future or what I want to do in the future. So it's like, all right, if I do decide on majoring in business, like I said I did, and it takes me a different path, it's going to be okay, because I know in the end, especially with my faith too, I know that in the end, everything's going to turn out. And
and I know, for you guys, at this point in your life, I don't really know where I want that to be. And that's okay. And that's not the underlying message by any means that you have to know right now. Like we talked about, this was not the. Was not the.
You said the NFL and Major League.
You kind of looked at okay, this is where I want to be, and then I took a different path, and that's okay. It's just in life. If we want to, gosh, I hate to say this, but I am way closer to retirement than I ever thought. Right.
Yeah.
And it's all right. So are you saving your money? And it's people get to retirement, man, I have no money. Why don't I have any money? Well, the choices you made,
if you're spending,
led you here.
Yeah.
I want to retire with a lot in my IRA. Okay, great. What are you doing now to make that happen?
Yeah. So, you got to think in the future.
Yes. Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, and then work the plan.
All right, Burke, you got any questions for McCord?
I just want to build on. I do have some. I just want to build on what he said, especially getting into college now. What it takes is building a narrative for the direction that you want to go into. So for pre-med programs and stuff, you have to do things now that show your interest and show your passion in order to actually be able to do something like that.
Yes.
A question: what were some of what athletes did you look up to growing up in the Boston, Massachusetts general area from the sports teams?
Yeah. So I had two. Larry Bird.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
he was my boy. I consider myself blessed to, grow up in the 80s and early 90s. We saw Bird and Magic. Dr. J was still in there. Jordan was just coming on the scene.
Right.
UNC boy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sorry about the other night too.
We don't gotta talk about that right now.
That's a 15-point lead.
Yeah,
it's okay.
So it's so those guys, and Roger Clemens. I know he's not going to be remembered as well.
Yeah.
With the PEDs, but as a kid, man, I was all about Clemens and then Bird. And again, that's why. Oh, what about New England? Yeah, we were terrible. We had.
Yeah.
I remember when they played the Bears it was Super Bowl 20, and they got absolutely crushed.
That's crazy.
8 years old, I'm watching my dad. I'm like, I don't understand. He's like,
So you'd go to the games?
No, this is just all on TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was about an hour and a half from Foxborough.
Okay.
So yeah. So those were the guys.
Did you ever see any of these guys in person?
Yeah, I saw Clemens pitch.
That's so cool.
And I saw one of his. Actually, it was really interesting. The Lakers and the Celtics did 2 preseason games. One was in Boston, and then one was in a town about an hour from Boston called Worcester. And so they did these back-to-back preseason games, And so Bird was playing, Magic was playing, and so we went. We got tickets when it was in Worcester, and then it was, gosh, it was less than a month. Magic Johnson came out and said, "I'm HIV positive."
Right.
I'm done. I'm like, dude, we were
Yeah.
we just watched him.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, sports are huge.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's like, that's so cool to say. I went and saw these people like pitch and stuff. I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, we were 30 minutes, about 30 minutes north of Boston.
Yeah.
So we, Red Sox tickets back then were, gosh, my first game. I just saw the ticket stub. I was showing it to my kids. It was like $6.
I think you were telling me that in
Yeah,
class,
that
how
is-
cheap it was.
So
Right.
and we sat like third base. And it was like
What in
$6
the-
or $8.
That is
I mean,
so crazy. And you
cost-
said, yeah.
It costs thousands of dollars to go see Duke and UNC play on
I know.
one night.
But I mean, you were saying like that because of the TV and
Yeah.
how much money they make now and how much money these players now need, or
Insane.
Yes.
Insane amount
like
of money.
millions of dollars.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yes. Food was cheap. The tickets were cheap. And then
I know the
Blew out.
concessions. Even to think the concessions were cheap, it's like
they were. Yeah.
$15 to get a hot dog.
Yeah, it's. I'm planning on. I was just looking at Red Sox tickets like 2 nights ago because I'm going up with my kids, and they're in town, and they're actually fairly cheap this year. I'm so
How much?
shocked. You can sit in the bleachers for like $20.
Oh wow.
So,
Are they playing well though?
well, they had a good spring season or spring training, but they start this week.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah.
The whole holdout thing kind of threw me
Oh,
off.
I know. Yeah, I'm glad they have a season.
Yep.
A full one.
Well, I think that's just about it.
I would
Anything
agree.
else you need to touch on?
Nah, man, I just thank you both for
Yeah.
having me. I
Thank you
enjoyed
for
it.
coming.
Thank you for coming down. We
And
appreciate it.
I hope everyone enjoys this podcast.
Agreed.
We'll see you later. Signing off, Sammy G.
And Burke Bankston.